The translucent, dearly bought dome ended. And outside the walls was death. The wind must have been blowing all night, for the white fog of the ruining had drawn back from the far shore. Runajo could see pale beaches and rocky cliffs. She could see the green of moss and the spreading branches of trees. The ruining was deadly only to humans. She could even see the peaks of the mountains rising out of the fog that swirled around their slopes. On the far shore lay the ruins of Zukra, the city that had once been the bustling gateway to Viyara, when people came on pilgrimages from all around the world. But now, it was crumbling and abandoned. Its stone quays were empty, the ships having long ago rotted away as they waited for sailors that would never come. Something moved in its streets. At that distance, Runajo could barely make it out, but she still saw the sudden scurrying of a tiny, pale figure in the abandoned streets. No, two figures. Revenants. The dead that rose and walked again. Fear slid up her spine like the touch of a cold finger. Her heart pounded, but she refused to let herself look away. So she watched the two tiny figures scramble down the street until they turned a corner and disappeared. Runajo let out a shaky sigh. The ruining was more than the white fog that killed every person it touched. It had changed the nature of death. Even here in Viyara, behind the walls, the dead would rise again within 2 days, mindless and hungry for the living. And so the bodies had to be cremated first. The furnaces of the sisters never cooled. Outside the walls, there was nobody left to burn the dead. In the early years of the ruining, revenants had crowded the far shore, hungering for the beating hearts inside Viyara. But over the past century, they had slowly wandered away. After all, they had a whole world to walk. That, Runajo believed, was why sisters sometimes threw themselves down from the tower. Because standing up here, they had to see what everyone pretended wasn't true. That death had already won. That Viyara's walls hardly made a difference. That in the end, nobody survived. It didn't bother Runajo. She couldn't pretend she was going to live forever. Not after the years she spent helplessly watching her parents die. Up here on the tower, staring death in the face, at least she could fight. At the center of the tower's roof was a round hole, about as wide as Runajo was tall. Out of the hole, rising up from a shaft that plunged deeper than the height of the tower, down into the heart of the cloister, grew the wall. Here, near the base, it looked like 7 columns of tiny, faintly glowing bubbles pressed together into a ring. Overhead, it became transparent as it spread out in a vast dome that covered the city, the island, and part of the water. Gently, Runajo leaned forward, taking a breath through her nose. The surface of the wall hummed against her lips, then swirled into her mouth. It was lighter than water, thicker than air. It hummed and almost sang against her tongue. It had a bright mineral taste, like the scent of sunlight on clean, hot stone. There was no hint of bitterness, no discord in the not-quite song, which meant there were no cracks forming in this part of the wall, no need for adjustments in the spell-weaving chambers far below. But the wall felt thin and faint in her mouth. When Runajo